Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is July 29th, and this is show number 24. And the show is, we're going to name the show after Glenn Beck. And you're going to ask, well, why are you going to name it after Glenn Beck? Well, because this weekend I decided to pay a visit to the Glenn Beck website. And guys, I want to tell you, what an adventure it was. I mean, some of the people that I was blogging with, I mean, I wonder what part of Texas they live in. Or what trailer park they're coming from. Because I tell you, a lot of these people were not making any sense. Now, before I get into any detail, I met a little girl today at Dunkin' Donuts, and I want to give her a specific shout out. I want to say hello to Janoris. Janoris was a beautiful little girl, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years old. She was outside with her mother at Dunkin' Donuts. I think her father works there. I don't want to assume anything. But she's a beautiful little girl, so I told her I would say hi to her on TV. So I'm keeping my commitment. Janoris, hopefully I can teach you something tonight, okay? This might be a little advanced for you, but you know what? We got the bear like I told you about, so it's good seeing you, sweetie. All right, now, guys, like I said, this weekend I was on Glenn Beck's website, and they were talking about global warming. Well, you guys know how I feel about global warming. So, I mean, the fight was on, and I want to tell you, I was in my glory. But, you know, the reason why we surround ourselves with question marks is obviously so that when anybody made a statement on the site, I would ask them, I would say, where are you getting your information from? Name your sources, be specific. You know what? Nobody. Nobody could. Nobody would. And why? Because they live in a fantasy world. They can't deal with facts and figures. And this is what I was trying to get across to them. And sometimes I don't think you can be that ignorant. I mean, I really think you have to work at it. I mean, to the point where you're past willfully ignorant. I mean, you've got to step over that. I mean, it's almost sad. I mean, some of these people are sad. So anyway, tonight, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to give Glenn Beck the business, the bada-bing. We're going to let him have it with both barrels. We're probably going to give him the double reverse. I don't know yet. It's close. But, you know, the one thing that I noticed on the blog was it didn't matter what you were talking about. Whenever anything was wrong, it was Obama's fault. Doesn't matter. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter. It was Obama's fault. Taxes are too high, it's Obama. Taxes are too low, it's Obama. Taxes are right, it's Obama. It doesn't matter. So I'm saying to myself, these people must have a black man fixation because they're irrational. I mean, they are irrational. And you know, I thought back, and this is not from me, guys. I got this from somebody else. But if there was a little kid drowning, and if Obama walked on water and reached down and grabbed the kid and saved the kid's life, the people on Glenn Beck and the Foxstitutes on Fox News, you know how they would report that story? They would simply say, today, President Obama proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that he can't swim. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people whose elevators don't go to the top. I mean, I'm serious. We're dealing with some delusional people. And tonight, we're going to straighten them out. But a lot of times after we get done with the slapping, we're going to try to convince everybody that capitalism is good. That's right. We want to start to teach everybody that by putting solar panels on your roof, you're becoming a capitalist. You're taking personal responsibility of your roof. You're going to have the trickle-down economics where you can trickle the money down to the other people. We could play games with this all night. But we're also going to hear from Al Franken tonight. And Al Franken is going to give the old bada bing to Brit Hume and the rest of the boneheads at Fox. And after you hear what he has to say, you're going to sit there and you're going to, you know what? I can't argue with the logic. And that's why we're here. You know, for facts, figures, logic, and reason. Very, very simple. You know, thermometers don't lie. I was talking to one guy, he says he's a scientist from Penn State. A scientist from Penn State. That's pretty prestigious. And he says to me, you know, the data that they used, the data was manipulated. And I'm saying to myself, you call yourself a scientist and you're telling me the data was manipulated? What are you telling me for? Why aren't you screaming at the top of your lungs at the people that supposedly manipulated the data? Why? Because as we've shown on this show over and over and time again, the data was never manipulated. There's no proof, there's no evidence. All they wanted to do was create doubt. And this guy, if he's got a degree, when I get home tonight, I'm really gonna give him the double reverse. Boom! Because how could you be a professor? How could you have a degree and not question anything? I mean, it's like the creationists. You know, there's one guy at the Creation Museum, PhD from Harvard, and he claims the world is 6,000 years old. There's a problem with that, folks. There's a legitimate problem. And you know, these are the people that support the 1%, the fossil fuel industry, and the Koch brothers. All right, anyway, so we're going to show you how we can all become capitalists, and we're going to show you the other good side of solar power, and that's jobs. Because I tell you guys, there's a market out here. And if anybody, you know, if any of the young guys out there, old guys, it doesn't matter, you're looking for work, go on to any solar site. They've got job applications galore. Put your name in. Why not? I tell you, solar's going to be like the transistors were back in the 50s. We're just seeing the beginning. And finally, the last thing we hope to talk about tonight is the microgrids. And Danbury's done something with microgrids, but they're all gas run. I mean, that's good. But, you know, we'd like to push them in the solar direction, so we're going to try to attempt that. All right, so guys, what we normally do at the beginning of the show, we like to start with a little patriotism, and we're going to see how nimble John is. And I tell you, I've got nothing but nice things to say about our director, John. He's been on his toes, and he's out there making things happen. But guys, when you see that flag blowing in the breeze, we want you to think of one thing. And what's that one thing? We want you to think, there you go. You're one step ahead of me. We want to think about the free energy, and what we've coined a term here. We like to call it Frenergy. Friendly energy. Guys, we'll never have to send our kids to fight for wind or solar. Never. We got so much wind and solar, we don't know what to do with it. The only thing we have to do is start taking advantage of it. And don't forget, when you look at the flag, you reach over to the guy next to you, you give him a little scotch, you have him look up at the flag, and you say, hey, what does that flag represent? And you know, they're going to think of mom, apple pie, Chevrolet, you know, but we want to think about free energy. Also, I want to give a shout out to my buddy John. I don't want to use his name yet, but this guy is talented, and he's given us a bunch of stills. So, John, if you can go through the stills from John, there's a new one that we have up here. And John might be a little unfamiliar. There it is. It just dawned on me. We could have the power. And folks, we do have the power. We just got to learn how to use it. And John, if you can go through the solar billboard, and there it is. This isn't a billboard, it's a power plant. And folks, it's so true. That's what's called a microgrid. That is a microgrid right there. They'll pump that electricity down to whatever, to a factory or street lights, it doesn't matter. And if we go to the next one, you know, guys, when there's a huge solar energy spill, it's just called a nice day. I mean, hey, did you hear what happened out in the Gulf? 2 rigs this week blew up. 2 of them. When are these guys finally going to get it through their head? Hey, we got to start dealing with renewable, sustainable energy. We got to stop putting carbon dioxide in the air. All right, now, tonight, we've never done anything with Jon Stewart, but tonight's going to be our first go-round, and this is from the liberal viewer, so we're going to introduce you to Jon Stewart tonight on Who's Telling the Truth. John, hit it.
Liberal Viewer presents.
So when I watched Chris Wallace interview Jon Stewart on Fox News Sunday last weekend, I wasn't surprised the Fox News interviewer seemed defensive because, after all, Fox News has so much to be defensive about, and Jon Stewart on Comedy Central, of all places, has actually been one of Fox News' most effective critics, including the criticism Fox News rolled out right at the beginning of the interview, like Stewart's statements that Fox News is, quote, a biased organization relentlessly promoting an ideological agenda, unquote, and, quote, a relentless, agenda-driven 24-hour news opinion propaganda delivery system, unquote. Yet, what was most striking about Fox News' defensiveness was the way Chris Wallace never really denied Fox News' bias, instead employing the 2 wrongs make a right type argument you can see in this clip.
I don't think our viewers are the least bit disappointed with us. I think our viewers think, finally, they're getting somebody who tells the other side of the story.
Now, hold on a minute. The other side of the story? Isn't that argument a tacit admission that Fox News is only telling one side of the story? And you can see that same tacit admission from Chris Wallace later in the interview of Jon Stewart that Fox News broadcast in this clip.
I'm trying to see whether or not you recognize that what I believe is true, there's as much bias on the other side as you subscribe to Fox, and why you seem to go easy on that.
Now, I don't think the rest of the media has the same consistent ideological bias as Fox News, but what's more interesting about Chris Wallace's argument is that, again, he basically admitted Fox News' bias on his way to accusing the rest of the media, and Jon Stewart on The Daily Show the next day actually thought this point was made even more clear in a part of the interview that was not broadcast, but that Fox News later uploaded to the internet, which Jon Stewart thought included the takeaway moment from the entire interview, as you can see in this clip.
The takeaway moment of the entire interview, where Chris Wallace, one of the more respected individuals at Fox, basically gives away the game.
You believe that Fox News is exactly the ideological equivalent of NBC News?
I think we're the counterweight.
You believe that?
I think that they have a liberal agenda, and I think we tell the other side of the story.
The other side of the story. We don't tell both sides of the story. We tell one side. The other side, the one we perceive is never told, the conservative side.
And Jon Stewart went on to point out the basic fallacy of the 2 wrongs make a right argument here.
Because as you know, news only comes in 2 sides. And if the conservative side isn't being told, what's being told must be liberal. Fox News isn't fair and balanced. It's balancing the system, man.
And now I often get that balancing the system kind of argument posted by conservatives in the comment sections of my Fox News bias videos, so I had to include the next part of the clip in which Jon Stewart and the great writers at The Daily Show revealed how really ridiculous that argument is here.
Don't you get it? The system's unfair and unbalanced. To balance the system, Fox has to be the purest form of right-wing resin because of how heavy left-wing America is. Hollywood, comedians, every single news organization, the internet, facts, history, science, it's all just left-wing bull. man.
Now that's not just funny, but it's also insightful analysis in its own satirical way, which may explain the article one of my friends posted on my Facebook page earlier this month showing that The Daily Show now gets higher ratings than almost every so-called news show on Fox. And I think another reason for The Daily Show's success is probably found in what I thought was the real takeaway moment of that Fox News Sunday interview when Jon Stewart explained his own credibility like this.
The embarrassment is that I'm given credibility in this world because of the disappointment that the public has in what the news media does.
I don't think
not because I have an ideological agenda.
I think that's true, and it's why I've continued using Daily Show and Colbert Report clips in my videos over the years, because especially when it comes to criticizing the media, and especially when it comes to criticizing Fox News, some of the most effective insights and expositions have come from, of all places, Comedy Central. At least that's what I think, but I want to know what you think. Does the success of The Daily Show come not just from the comedic talents of Jon Stewart and his writers, but also from their effectiveness at pointing out the flaws in the rest of the media? And regarding Chris Wallace's two wrongs make a right argument about bias, was the Fox News argument about reporting the other side of the story really a tacit admission that Fox News is a relentless, agenda-driven 24-hour news opinion propaganda delivery system?
I YouTube, you decide.
Okay, we're trying to figure out the phones here, so we're having a lot of fun, and we're back on the camera without the light on it. Every day's an adventure. All right, now, we're going to forge ahead to Glenn Beck, my buddy, and I tell you, you know, when I first became active, I really didn't know who Glenn Beck was. I mean, I was ignorant to everything. I really was. And but anyway, we're going to show you Glenn Beck with his take on global warming, and we're going to show you, you know, what the people at Fox and what the people on the right want you to think of when it comes to global warming. So, John, if you'll hit us with the next clip.
Hello, America. Not every global warming nut is hiding out during the blizzards. I want you to see this from MSNBC.
These snowpocalypses that have been going through D.C. and other extreme weather events are precisely what climate scientists have been predicting, fearing, and anticipating because of global warming. Why is that? The thinking that warmer air temperatures on the Earth, a higher air temperature, has a greater capacity to hold moisture at any temperature. And then as winter comes in, that warm air cools full of water, and you get heavier precipitation on a more regular basis. In fact, you could argue these storms are not evidence of a lack of global warming, but are evidence of global warming.
I can't figure out why this program is beating them by 18 times. Let's see. I don't think it takes a genius to see through the more snow is proof of global warming claim, but if this is new information, and it is indeed accurate, I'm going to give this as a free gift to you. We've been using the wrong kind of thermometer. You know what I mean? The thermometer, you know, you have this thermometer that looks like this, and as it gets hotter, the mercury keeps going up. We've been using the wrong thermometer. This is what we need to, our thermometer should be shaped, and I'm going to give this to you for free. You don't have to give me any royalties or anything. Just go make these. They're going to be in high demand. Our thermometer needs to start going like this because apparently the hotter it gets, the colder it becomes. The progressive agenda is more important than the truth to these people. And here's the great news. People start to see through the lies. I mean, they're looking at it going, that doesn't make any sense. It's only cold because it's hot. Every claim made by the media, every claim made by now scientists and our government, it's all bogus.
Now, isn't that sad? Isn't that, he can't be that stupid. He honestly can't be that stupid. But yet he wants to mislead his followers. And who are his followers? The people that will shell out every month money to buy every book that he puts out, to come up with every new thing that he wants to sell. What does he try to sell you? He wants to make sure your computer is safe with carbonite. What? He wants to make sure that you use LifeLock so that your personal security information isn't stolen. He wants to make sure that you can buy guns. He sells safes, Liberty safes, where you can store your guns. He sells survival seeds. They come in a special container so you can bury them in the ground so the government won't confiscate them. Swear to God. Swear to God. He has instant food. You could buy a closet full of instant food so that when all hell breaks loose, you and your family can sit there and eat while it's going on. Yeah. And then don't forget, guys, when all else fails and everything comes to ruin, you could take all the gold that you bought from Gold Line and you could start eating that. Yeah. And this is what we're dealing with. If you don't scare the shit out of somebody, you can't sell them this stuff. Sometimes there's only some language that gets through. And these boneheads, that's the only thing they understand. And if it bothered you, tough.
All right.
No, this is what we're dealing with. And these poor people, and I tell you, the people that I'm talking with on the web, they don't have a clue. And the other thing is most of them believe in God. So I asked them, please, can you pray away global warming for me? Let's save ourselves a lot of aggravation. Just pray it away, you know? All right, now we're going to show you another clip by Glenn. And let's see how he's going to try to deceive us this time. John?
Hello, America. It's me, Captain Happy Pants. The next time they tell you how global warming causes all sorts of massive natural disasters, you say, really? That's interesting, because I heard somewhere, I'm trying to remember, that deaths per year from extreme weather are down 95% since the 1920s. It would make sense, at least to me, that God would give us some sort of an early warning system.
But just over 30 years ago, the first European weather satellite, Meteosat-1, revolutionized weather forecasting. Since then, predictions have become more and more reliable.
It would make sense, at least to me, that God would give us some sort of an early warning system, you know? Early warning system.
Early warning system.
Revolutionized weather forecasting.
You ever think about that? You ever once think about that?
They want God to give us an early warning system. This is the logic. This is the rationale. Yes. I mean, come on, this is sad. But this is what we're dealing with. And, you know, people say, Rich, you know, you can't get arrogant with people of faith, and you can't diss their real. Yes, I can. Because I'm not going to let you hide behind the faith card anymore. It's that simple. You know, there's a new book out, it's about Jesus. And the guy that put it out was Reza, damn it. Oh, wait, it was Reza, Anyway, the Reza Aslan. Yeah, yep. And do you know that there is absolutely no eyewitness evidence for Jesus having lived? Nobody that wrote about Jesus actually saw him. Nobody that wrote about him actually talked to him. And I always thought the Gospels were the word. They aren't. They're books according to John, according to Mark. Maybe Luke. Luke might have had a little, but nah. And this is what drives me nuts. You know, you'll believe in something that doesn't exist. But when something's knocking on your front door, like Hurricane Sandy and all the other disasters that we've had. And do you know what happened in Philadelphia today? They had 7 inches of rain in 1 hour. They had to close half of Philadelphia. 7 inches of rain. Well, we're used to that. In Ansonia, we had 6. You think you're tough, Philadelphia? Come on up here. But this is what we're facing. And you get guys like Glenn Beck that want to stir the pot and confuse the simple folk and turn them into willfully ignorant idiots that don't know anything about anything, can't put a fact together and don't look anything up. Oh, and by the way, guys, our good buddy Uncle Joe, ever since he had Solar City come out to his house and they proved how much money he could save, I've never heard from him. Never heard from him. He kind of like slithered under a rock and he says, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Every month he's going to have to write a check to the power company. And when he sits there writing that check and he's could be $150 cheaper this month if I put, he'll put solar panels. All right, now we're gonna go to Al Franken in front of a bunch of college students, and we're gonna show how Al Franken shows how Fox News is misleading and deceitful. He catches Fox News with their pants down, and he doesn't let up. Let's watch Al Franken.
You guys are pretty good at math, right? You take statistics and stuff like that. Okay, listen to this. Britt Hume said this. 277 U.S. soldiers have now died in Iraq, which means that statistically
speaking, U.S. soldiers have less of a chance of dying from all causes in Iraq than citizens have of being murdered in California, which is roughly the same geographical size. The most recent statistics indicate California has more than 2,300 homicides each year, which means about 6.6 murders each day. Meanwhile, U.S. troops have been in Iraq for 160 days, which means they're incurring about 1.7 deaths, including illness and accidents, each day.
Now, can anyone tell me what's wrong with this? Remember that there are 140,000 U.S. troops in Iraq, and there are 32 million people living in California. Can anyone think of an equation? 32 million, there's 140,000 troops. Okay? Troops are dying at the rate of 1.7 a day, and Californians are being murdered at a rate of 6.6 a day. So 14 over 3,200.
No. You can only cross out 4 zeros on the bottom.
How many zeros did I cross out? Huh? Let's do it again. Okay, come on. 140,000, 32 million, right? I actually did it right, didn't I?
Okay, you did it right.
Okay. Somebody tell me what that fraction is in decimal. 0.004375. Now, do this one, please, for me. 0.2575. So Britt Hume is telling you that 0.004375 is greater than 0.25. Okay? Think about that. Now, think about what he's saying it about. This is a lie. Okay, this is what we call a lie. Okay? No, really. By the way, he was asked about this. He said, admittedly, it was a crude comparison. But it was illustrative of something. And I agree with him. It was illustrative of something, which is how shameless these guys are at Fox. This, to me, is obscene. We have men and women not much older than you getting killed there every week. You got to be able to watch the news and read the paper, and you got to start going like, that doesn't make sense to me. What difference does it make that California and Iraq are the same geographical size? It makes nothing. It's a misdirect. Oh, they're the same size. What the fuck does that mean? But he said it deliberately.
Are you saying there's no left-wing propaganda?
Now, there is obviously some left-wing propaganda, and it's very weak and underrepresented, but what I do isn't propaganda. What I do is taking what they say and using it against them. What I do is jujitsu. They say something ridiculous, and then I subject them to scorn and ridicule. That's my job.
You know, I tell you, I love the way he put it. You know, jujitsu. I take what they say and I use it against them. And that's exactly what you want to do. And, you know, the next clip, we're going to show you exactly. There's one claim that they always make on Fox. And the claim is, well, you know, we do something about global warming, but what about China? And what about India? Why should we do something and they're not doing anything? Once again, these guys are shameless. Like Al Franken said, they're shameless. They don't care. All they want to do is create doubt, misdirect. So we have to subject them to scorn and ridicule. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So the next clip, we're going to show you the top 10 countries producing clean energy, and you're not going to believe who number one is. It ain't the United States. John?
The top 10 most attractive renewable energy countries in the world are: number 10, Brazil with a score of 49. Number 9 is Sweden with a score of 50. Number 8, Canada with a score of 54. Now their infrastructure score is what makes them a viable competitor to break into the top 5 here in the next few years. Number 7 is France with a score of 56, followed by 6, Italy with 57. And the top 5 are major countries around the world who are really head and shoulders above everyone else in leading the way in the renewable energy industry. Number 5 is the United Kingdom with a score of 59. Their offshore wind is some of the best in the world. Number 4 is India with a score of 63. They have good scores across the board from onshore wind to solar to biomass. Number 3, Germany with a score of 66. Their offshore wind farms and renewable infrastructure, again, best in the world. Number 2 is the United States of America with a score of 68. Their solar scores across the board, as well as their onshore wind, are really top-notch scores. Number 1 is China with a score of 70. And their on and offshore wind power is some of the best in the world. And their infrastructure is one of the reasons that they are one of the most attractive nations for renewable energy. So hope you enjoyed the list. Give it a look. You can check out the link down below, which has more information on how the list was composited. And if you like the environment, if you like rundowns like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us in the next daily conversation.
Okay, guys, there it is in black and white, facts and figures, something that conservatives can't understand. But you'll see that China is number 1 in renewable, sustainable energy. So when somebody says to you, what about China? What do? Bada-bing! That's it. Stop them dead in their tracks, because these guys don't know anything. That's why we're here. All right. Hey. The fun's just starting. All right, now listen. We want to get a little greedy here. And, you know, whether you're left or you're right, there's one thing that we all appreciate, and that's the color of money. And guys, whether you believe global warming is happening or you don't, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. When you put the panels on your roof and you start making money, that's all that matters. Now we're going to show you what Canada has done to increase the amount of people willing to go to solar power. So John, let's hit us with this first clip. This is solar in Ontario.
In 2009, under the Green Energy Act, the province of Ontario has introduced the most lucrative financial incentive in North America for solar panel systems called the feed-in tariff, or FIT. Any homeowner or farmer can install a solar panel system on their roof or land. This will allow you to produce clean solar power and sell it back to the grid. Installing a solar power system on your roof is the same as planting 130 trees a year. Also, it will generate up to $1,000 a month of passive income, and value of your property will increase by up to $80,000. An installation of a solar panel system is a complex and dangerous procedure that requires specialized training and numerous government certifications. So why not go with a professional installer who will provide you the best service? There are over 250 professional installers in Ontario, each with a different product and lucrative offers. Do you really have the time to get in touch with all installers individually? How can OntarioSolarInstallers.ca help? We will connect you with leading solar panel companies in your area absolutely free of charge. Interested in learning more? Fill out a request in under 1 minute on OntarioSolarInstallers.ca and get on the way to making money from the feed-in tariff.
See that, guys? Canada embraces the idea of solar. What's wrong with us? We know what's wrong with us. It's the 1%. It's the fossil fuel industry. They want to keep that stranglehold on us. They want to keep the noose around us so they can raise the price of gas 20 cents in 1 week. And you know what? We can't do anything about it. That's why we want to take control back. You put panels on your roof, we put up windmills, and guess what? We start to take it back. All right, now, by taking it back, we can also get rich. Now, this guy, Dick Backus, I probably got his name wrong. What a beautiful video this is. This is going to impress you. And I tell you, it's going to make you start to think, how much money am I letting evaporate off of my roof? Why aren't I renting out my roof? I mean, what do you guys got to, how long does it take before this kicks in? All right, now we're going to show you this video, and this guy is forward. He explains everything to a detail, and you'll hopefully the light will start to go off. John, roll it.
Hi, I'm Dick Bacher, and we're in Manotick Station. You're now looking at some solar panels that my wife and I installed as an investment for our, upcoming retirement at some point. We installed these in June under the Ontario feed-in tariff, which is the first piece of legislation I'm aware of in North America that allows people to make an investment in renewable energy that provides them with a predictable and reliable income stream over a 20-year contract period. The equipment that you see will last over 30 years, but there's 20 years where there's a revenue stream that's predicted and guaranteed. Therefore, my wife and I have invested in this as a financial investment, not necessarily to save the world or anything like that, although there are side benefits that are good for everyone else as well. We're now inside the barn. This is the barn that my wife and I operate our seasonal retail business called Third World Bazaar. Outside, I showed you these solar panels. There's 2 rows of 24 solar panels per row. Each row of panels produces power, of course, that comes into the barn on 2 cables DC power. It goes to an inverter that converts the DC power to AC power. And then from each inverter, it's brought to a combiner, which then connects to a cable which goes outside to the grid. We're now outside of the barn. The power comes through this wall, along this line here, to my disconnect, should there be a problem. Should there be a problem, then the power here can be isolated from the grid. Then it goes to my meter, and all of this power is sold to the grid. None of it is for my purposes. There's no battery here. There's no expensive 10-year battery that has to be topped up and monitored and played with. Everything that I produce is sold to the grid, and when I turn a light on, or if I have a need for power, I buy it with this meter. So I actually have two meters, one selling, one buying. Since I've turned this system on, June 23rd, 2010, we've produced 63,038 kilowatts of power. That's about $5,000 in 6 months. Of those 6 months, 2 of them are the lowest producing months of the year, October and November. So I'm on track to make about $10,000 in this year, and that's on a $71,000 investment. So I can't get a return like that from any other financial instruments, and I don't have to invest in a fossil fuel dividend paying company. I'm investing my own money in my own infrastructure and my own capital asset that is employing people in this community, rather than sending it off to England to invest in BP, for example, that then has an oil problem in the Gulf of Mexico and doesn't pay dividends because of. Another key aspect of solar that people should be aware of and isn't mentioned much is the fact that I can only produce power when the sun shines. Almost every bit of power that our solar panels produce is consumed by my brother in the store next to me. His peak demand time is when his air conditioning units, his heaters, his coolers, his refrigeration units are all turned on, which is generally in the sunny time of the summer. We're here offsetting power that would normally have to be produced and shipped to this little hamlet, Manotick Station. Manotick Station is now producing power in the peak load. We're offsetting expensive power that has to be turned on in Almont or Toronto or some other place far away, and then has to be shipped here, which has line loss between 8 to 12% normally, up to 30% in the peak demand time. Because we produce peak load, we're reducing that line loss, and we're reducing it at the most expensive time, and we're offsetting very expensive power. So that is good for the taxpayers of Ontario, and it's good for the climate and the weather and all sorts of side effects. It happens to be good for our family as well.
Did you see what he said, guys? There are up to 30% line losses during peak capacity. Think about that. Could you imagine if you filled up your car and only got, 2/3 of a tank of gas because there was loss? You'd go, what, are you crazy? But we have to generate it. It's that simple. And in previous shows, we showed you how the school, the Park Avenue School in Danbury, was feeding the condos right across the street. We got to start getting the idea behind us in the microgrids. These are so important. We can't afford to lose power at the hospital. We can't lose power at the police station. We can't lose power at the fire department. None of these things we can lose power at. And that's the idea behind the microgrids. And we're going to get to that. And the microgrids are going to become more popular when people find out they can make money. The green stuff that you put in your pocket. Now, the next clip is also from Canada, but it's so well done, you're going to appreciate it. Just sit back and enjoy. John?
Every year, enough sunshine falls on millions of homes to generate all the electricity they need, but just goes to waste. Some may have been put off by the look of solar panels, but that's all changed. Solar Sentry has now developed a solar tile that even fits in with traditional slate roofs, a breakthrough in harnessing the sun's power without spoiling the look of your home. And now, thanks to the government's feed-in tariff, the financial incentives are stronger than ever before. Solar power has just come of age.
The principle behind solar electric technology is that the energy from the sun is converted into electricity by the silicon in the cells, and the cells are all wired together to form a solar tile.
In a home installation, the tiles are fixed to the roof, wired together, and the electricity is then passed through to the home's distribution board. Solar Sentry tiles and panels are guaranteed to work to at least 80% power for 25 years, and should last 50 years, or as long as the roof on your house. The feed-in tariff is a financial incentive to encourage public uptake of clean energy. Under the scheme, energy companies are obliged to pay domestic customers significantly more than the market price for electricity they produce with their solar panels. So, with a solar system installed, you'll earn 41.3 pence for every unit of energy you generate, and that's even if you use the power in your home. Energy you don't use is sold onto the grid, netting you an additional 3p per unit on top of the 41.3 pence. The best bit is that this rate is guaranteed along with the solar panels for 25 years. So what do owners of solar systems think of the scheme?
The way the feed-in tariff works is quite interesting, and I must admit when I first looked at it I hadn't really appreciated how it works. But what it is that you actually are paid an amount per kilowatt, irrespective of whether you use it or whether you export it. So simply by having the system there generating electricity, you get paid 41 pence per kilowatt.
Under the new feed-in tariff, that's going to generate about £1,200–1,300 income off the roof, which seemed a good investment to me. Might not be energy self-sufficient, but we should be money self-sufficient, because the surplus will more than cover the gas bill and damn it, the water bill.
And the sooner you join, the better, because the rate you receive for the generation payments will go down in future years of the scheme. So it makes sense to sign up now. Customers who want to make money from solar without changing the look of their roofs now have the option of fitting Solar Sentry's cutting-edge solar tiles, which integrate into the roof itself. There are products for both concrete and traditional slate roofs.
The C21B tiles are excellent from an architectural point of view. They sit flat to the plane of the roof, so it's something that you can use, pretty much anywhere.
The reason that this product works so well is that it can be totally integrated with the slates that are on the roof. What I like is the fact that it really does allow you to put it into the roof and not have people look at it and say that there are solar panels on the roof.
This house in South London was designed by owner Will Anderson to be fully carbon neutral. He's completely self-sufficient for electricity thanks to his solar roof.
I mean, some people think that you can't actually use solar in Britain because it's such a cloudy, rainy nation. But today, even though it's cloudy, there's no direct sunlight, I'm generating well over 1,000 watts of power, which is more than I need for everything in the house. All these bits and bobs, they all add up to less than we're currently generating. So we can cover all those and still have a surplus.
And the weather's equally British at the state-of-the-art solar street in Rotherham. But the residents are still collecting their kilowatts.
Very dull, very cloudy, and yet you can see the panels are still working because on this meter the light is green. So even though it's quite a grey day today, you will actually make 2 or 3 units.
I think probably the system produces somewhere in the region of 2/3 of our energy in a daily use.
The first bill that we had after the initial installation was
amazing. You know, especially when you get one of your previous bills out and compare, you're just like, wow.
And although you do need to buy electricity as normal after dark, the feed-in tariff payments owners receive mean the numbers add up better than ever before.
The system we have cost about £9,500, and we will be paid each year about £900, so that would be equal to a return of about 9%. And I suppose the other way to look at it is, after about 10 or 11 years, we will have got our money back by having £900 each year for 10 years.
And for the remaining 15 years, every unit you generate is pure profit.
I'm getting a 10% return on my investment, as opposed to leaving it at the bank where I get 1 or 2%. That's index-linked, tax-free, and guaranteed for 25 years. So it just seemed a brilliant financial investment.
The other thing is actually the value of the system. It always remains on the roof of your house. So if you come to sell your house, for instance, you can ask for a premium on the price of the house because the system's there. We got an estate agent round after the installation, and he's quoted that it raised the value of the house by 6 to 8%, so we're really pleased with that.
Meanwhile, Will's energy costs are likely to make you go green with envy.
We don't have any bills. I mean, we just get checks from the energy company, which is, at a time when energy prices are going up, is obviously quite nice. Don't want to be too smug about this. You know, it's not why we did it, but now that we've got it, it's nice.
Whether you go for integrated solar slates or retrofit panels on top of your existing roof, a solar electric system can be installed in as little as 1 day. Solar tiles and slates can be installed as part of a new roof, extension or re-roofing project.
Actually, we were quite surprised about the lack of disruption there was. Now, I had to have the roof done anyway. To have the solar added in, there was no real extra complication. The installation guy for Solar Century turned up, laid the new tiles along with my roofer, working with him. The system was linked up, and within a day it was up and running. Living with solar is just like living a normal day life. I think one thing it has done is it's taught us to be more careful about our energy usage.
You become a lot more conscious about what you're using, how you're using it. So like you become like a bit of a police detective. You're going around the house going, right, who's got something on?
When people leave lights on or leave things on overnight, you get a little bit jumpy, but you've got to be cool about that.
We've done some quite extensive research with the people who've moved in here, and everyone is delighted with what we've done up here, so it's certainly shown us that that's the future as far as we're concerned.
If you've got a bit of spare cash, which you're thinking about using on this, but you're not sure, I would say invest.
I think it's a very good deal if you look at it coldly in terms of getting a return of around 9%, which at the moment is tax-free. And certainly I think if you are ecologically minded, then it feels good to have done something like this.
I guess you got the warm green feeling about it, but it would be dishonest to say I did it for any other reason other than the economic benefits of the feed-in tariff.
Even if your interest is not an ethical interest about lowering your carbon footprint, if it was more about saving money, then I really do see it as a worthwhile investment.
If you're interested in finding out more, please visit solarcentury.co.uk and pop in your postcode for an instant estimate of the cost and profit you can make from solar electricity.
I'm eating a donut. All right, I apologize. I didn't know the clip was going to run that quick. All right, now, that was obviously in the United Kingdom. Now what we want to do is we want to bring it home. And we want to show you how you can profit in the United States. And we're going to show you a farmer in Georgia that is harvesting a new crop. So, John, roll it.
Since man first started farming, agriculture has used the Earth's resources to provide mankind with a food source. And more recently, our world has turned to agriculture to provide mankind with energy sources, with a focus on renewable and biofuels. In this report, the Monitor's Ryan Nakhan takes us to South Georgia, where one man is harvesting a new energy crop from the sun.
Growing up as a pecan grower in Arlington, Georgia, Trey Pippin never imagined being able to harvest a new crop so quickly. You see, it takes pecan trees usually 3 years to have just a light crop and 10 years to reach full production. But the farm he's built now can produce as soon as it's constructed and is in max production 365 days a year.
And that's where it shows what it's currently producing.
However, when Pippin first heard of harvesting the sun's rays for energy, he wasn't sold right away.
Before I got started, I didn't think it was something practical to do. It cost too much money, and it's just, you know, it wouldn't pay for itself.
When energy prices seemed to keep going up, Pippin decided to look into the technology he once deemed impossible to use on his farm. What this engineering degree recipient from the University of Georgia found were tax incentives and the Rural Energy for America grant from the USDA that provides farmers with an effective way to install solar farms.
The more we looked into it, the more viable it seemed, and it could actually pay for itself in a few years.
Now this small pecan grower in South Georgia owns a 200 kilowatt solar farm, the largest private commercial solar farm in the state.
Normally this time of year it's averaging somewhere around 900, 950 kilowatt hours in a day.
When the Pippins finally got the grants to go ahead with the construction of the solar farm, they wanted to go with a solar manufacturer based out of Georgia. So they went with Soneva that originated at Georgia Tech. And now 836 panels you see here today can power 40 homes.
Basically, you have a bunch of charged electrons that are moving on these panels.
Solar panels create electricity by absorbing photons from the sun. These photons release electrons that create the electricity by circulating through the panels.
That charge is gone and collected in the back of these with these boxes here and wiring that feed into this combiner box. So from here, the combiner box goes into, it's fed over here to an inverter, where this inverter is where they take the DC charge and turn it to an AC charge, and then from that point, it's fed to Georgia Power electric meters over there. So Georgia Power meters it at that point, then it's fed to their transformers, and it's put back onto the Georgia Power grid.
Georgia Power then pays Pippin for the energy he produces, minus the energy he uses on his farm.
It replaces 150% of all our power we use on this farm.
As you might imagine, the farm has stirred up quite an interest in the small town of Arlington. So much so that United States Representative Sanford Bishop recently visited the farm.
Trey Pippin has utilized his engineering background and is looking at the wave of the future so that he can help us in Southwest Georgia be innovative in agriculture as far as our energy needs are concerned.
And even though it only takes up 1 acre of his pecan orchard, Pippin views harvesting solar energy as a form of agriculture.
My argument is, you know, every single year we put up a lot of upfront costs for our crop, and we don't know exactly what we're going to get paid for it, you know, or how much of a crop we're going to get. So with this, you know, we put a system up and we have an extremely good idea how much we're going to produce. And I have a contract, you know, for multiple years of what I'm going to get paid. So I'd consider it a form of farming because of the economics of it, how you have to go about it.
Pippin says the solar farm gives him a feeling of accomplishment, and he plans to build more in the future.
We can't rely on fossil fuels forever. And
guys, it was a real pleasure, and I think you can see if we take the capitalistic approach